That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your Monday morning energizer covering insights and trends in higher ed marketing and enrollment. I'm Mallory Willsea, bringing over 15 years of ed tech and marketing expertise to your earbuds.
And I'm Seth Odell, joining the Pulse with my own adventures from leading marketing at top universities to founding Kanahoma, one of the industry's fastest growing digital marketing agencies.
Each week, we bring you the kind of insider insights you typically only find over cocktails with your pals at a conference.
It's fast, it's fun, and it's designed for you, the busy higher ed professional.
You're not just listening to another podcast.
You're checking the pulse of higher education.
Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher ed professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at Enrollify.org. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Welcome to this special bonus edition of The Pulse. I am so excited for this episode because today, two of my dear friends are joining me. We have Dayana Kibilds, who is, of course, the host of Talking Tactics, but also the Vice President of Strategyology, a marketing and branding agency for education. And Ashley Budd, the Senior Marketing Director at Cornell University. She works remotely for the institution in her hometown of Saratoga Springs. She lives about a half a mile away from me, and she has some awesome peach trees, which I have been enjoying as well this week. Ashley and Day are the co-authors of Mailed It, which drops today, y'all. Run, don't walk to wherever you buy your books. Mailed It. You can get your own copy, but we are going to preview that book for you here on The Pulse. Ashley, Day, welcome to the show. How's it going? How excited are you for this book launch?
Oh my gosh, it's launch day.
We can't believe it. It feels like we've been waiting so long and it's finally here.
I love it. I feel like I've been on this journey with both of you in some ways. I remember being over at Ashley's house one night, hearing her say, hey, I think Day and I are going to write this book. Hey, I think we're going to go to Montreal and start workshopping this thing. Or, hey, now I have a publisher and some cover art. Oh my gosh, this is real.
Help us pick, Mallory. Yeah.
And now we have books that we can physically hold in our hands. Ladies, Ashley's holding it up. I love to see it. This is super exciting. So let's just dive right in. What inspired you to write Mailed It? And, of course, it's a book on email marketing. So why do you think higher ed and the world needs this book right now? Day, I'm tossing this one to you.
Yeah, so it's kind of like being a contrarian. That's how I feel about this. I feel like email has gotten so much hate or been ignored for so long that I always felt like it was the ugly duckling of the marketing mix, and I wanted to love it. And so I did. And that's my irrational reason that I wrote this book, very emotional reason. But the business reason, the really important reason for everyone listening is that email isn't going anywhere. I can't believe the number of clients I still work with today that say things like people don't read emails anymore. Students are not reading, so why should we invest in it? And that's just not true. It's not going anywhere. And more than that, it's a channel that has incredible return on investment. And so if people knew how to use it better or use it well, they would see the results that they're trying to get from other channels, to be honest. And the great thing about email is that it's owned. It's your channel. You control that relationship. You're not at the mercy of some algorithm or your content just going away. So there's so many reasons that email is just worth talking about right now.
We were asked to speak a lot about email over the past few years. Each of us had email talks, and they keep getting requested. And more and more people wanted us to share what we were saying in these talks. And then when we decided that there was a book here, it felt really urgent to get it out. We felt like, oh my gosh, we have to write this, and this needs to be published today. So we wrote it really fast. We found a publisher and we pushed that publisher as hard as we could to get this book out to you. And it is here now. It's ready today. You can go get it.
And we will, of course, drop a link in the show notes to where you can go grab your own copy of Mailed It. But Ashley and Day were so kind to give me an advance copy to prepare for this interview. And one of the things that I noticed from the intro immediately, Ashley, was that you two wrote, "You'll notice this book is foundational, but it's not basic." And I thought that was an awesome line to kind of set the stage for what a reader should expect in Mailed It. So I'm curious, because our listeners on The Pulse tend to be more seasoned marketing communication professionals. Is this book for them? And I'm curious what you think they will find to be maybe surprising or eye-opening.
Yeah, this book is for them. This is not a book for somebody who has never managed email before. You will probably need somebody's pre-read book first. It's foundational in that is not tied to any specific fancy technology. And so we, certainly we're trying to future-proof ourselves a little bit and not be held to the technology of today that's going to change tomorrow. But it's foundational in that the communication principles that you need to follow are in there. Principles for working with stakeholders are in there. Strategy principles, like solid marketing principles, are in here. But the application of both those principles and a lot of user experience research that we took from our brilliant friends who do web design that are applied to email marketing, I think that is a really fresh point of view on email that's in here. And just thinking about the context in which we receive email today, like, it sucks. And that is like one of my favorite lines in the book, is how much the email space sucks. It's not like your inbox is not a place you want to be. You're not like, let me sit down and look at my inbox. But it used to be like that. It used to be like an exciting thing to run to your computer and be like, did I get any emails from anybody? Like, I do remember those days as an early millennial. So I think, that's where it's foundational for me. What about you, Day?
Yeah. So this line is super important to me because it was also kind of like trying to protect ourselves that the book isn't going to explain everything about email marketing out there. So if you've never done it before, there are some things that you're just not going to understand. So like we jump right into talking about segmentation and lists and things like that we do explain the foundation and the theory behind it and our recommendations, but we're not explaining how it all works. And that's, I think, the key difference between foundational and basic. And then the other thing I want to say there in terms of, is this book for a more seasoned professional? And I would say yes. I mean, there's parts of this book that apply to anyone. And, as good marketers, we would never say the audience is everyone, right? We actually, Ashley and I had a very specific audience in mind when we wrote it. We had a person that we were writing to. But there are some very specific tactics in the book that will help any person emailing any other person for any reason. So if you find yourself emailing stakeholders across your campus to get them to fill out a doodle poll or, schedule a meeting with you or reply in any way, there's something in this book for you too.
Amazing. So let's dig into some of the best takeaways in Mailed It to give our listeners that sneak peek preview of what they can expect in this book. And for me, the thing that jumped out the most was this theme of trust. It is woven all throughout Mailed It. You mention the trust triangle of authenticity, empathy, and logic. You reference a number of leadership experts, and you write, good emails respect the reader. So clearly trust and developing trust with your audience is paramount importance to the two of you. How can marketers build and maintain trust with their email subscribers?
This is my favorite topic, so I'm taking this right now. The name of the book is Mailed It, but the subtitle is, it's a guide to building relationships and getting results. And this is a communication tool that can help you build relationships. And it can also guide your readers to take actions, but they're not going to take the actions unless they have a relationship with you and trust you. And in this high volume environment that we're in, people are making decisions on whether they want to interact with you, whether they want to continue this relationship in this moment, in this day, in 2 seconds. And so it's really super important that there is a relationship there or you're going to get deleted. So we want to make sure that our readers know how to establish trust. And my favorite model is this trust triangle by Francis Fry and Ann Morris. But this is a model that is not just new since they published it in the Harvard Business Review in 2020. This is core relationship building that you can track all the way back to Aristotle. It's authenticity, empathy, and logic. It's ethos, pathos, logos. Like this is the way humans interact and how they build relationships in a trusting way. And so the researchers say if you don't have one of these, that you have a wobbly triangle, not a solid, strong triangle. You don't want to wobble. You want it to be strong. So you have to have all three. You can't just be authentic. You can't just have the reader's success in mind. You have to be those two things, and you have to be really logical. They have to be able to follow you. They have to understand, why am I getting this email at this time? And that's a lot about consistency and just so many small, important relationship building tactics that you need to have in mind while you're crafting your subject lines, while you're deciding who the sender is. And so that's why we start with that as a foundation.
So as you're building that relationship with your email readers, how do you recommend that marketers also build in a habit of engagement among their subscribers?
Yeah, we talk about this too, right? And how we balance our communication. And this was also from some of my own research and working with other schools that I've done communication audits for, where most of what we send in the enrollment side of our funnel and in the advancement side of our funnel, these communications are all about asking people to do something. And email can do that. Like, we can show you how to get people to take action, but it's not without the relationship. And so what is really lacking in our communication strategies are awareness raising, nurturing the relationship, stewarding the relationship, and that there has to be way more balance in our communication.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's really missing there is, I think about this from an enrollment point of view especially, because I think it's where it's the worst, is that we send very little content that's for the reader. A lot of what we send is about us, right? So when you think about a typical enrollment comp flow, we got to talk about our programs. We got to talk about our location. We're going to talk about our ranking. We're going to talk about our outcomes. We're going to talk about us, and more us. And very few of those emails have anything to do with what that person is actually going through in that moment, or what that family is going through and what they need to make this decision or to evaluate their options. And so thinking about audience engagement is as simple as write content for them that is useful in the mindset and the time that they are in. And then you can ask them to come visit and fill out the RFI form, and they'll trust you. They'll trust you because you have shown them that you have their interests in mind.
So you're speaking about empathy, right? You're talking about showing the reader that you care about them and about their success. So building empathy in email marketing is another theme in this book. And I'm curious, like, let's get really tactical for a second. Like, if I'm just simply looking at the subject line of my email, what are some tips around building empathy right in that singular space?
Oh my gosh. The most important thing to me is, am I wasting this person's time with this email? Like, that's the most, like, time for me. I don't know if it's like my time in my life that I'm just realizing how important time is, or if, you know, as a human race, we have all figured this out at this point, that time is so precious. But that's like the number one most empathetic thing that you can do for a person, is just be super clear in your subject line and tell them what's in the email, so that if it's not for them, if they're not interested, like, you are not wasting their time. So that's the one for me. I don't know what you would say, Day.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with time. That's one of the best ways to show, hey, we get that this is entering your space, right? But it is truly that idea. One of the things that we mentioned in the book is that there's more email now than ever, and people are, to keep up, people are engaging with email. in really like everyday life situations, from having dinner with your family to being on the toilet. Like email is a constant part of our everyday moment. And so this not wasting their time is super important. Being super clear is super important. But the other thing I like to think about is like match their moment, match their emotion, right? When we think about, again, taking it back to enrollment, because this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I know you've talked about pet peeves before, Mal, is everything in enrollment is so exciting all the time, right? Everything is so exciting. This is your time. This is your moment. You're going to start a new life, whatever. In the meantime, we know from research that families and students are experiencing a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm, and a lot of anxiety about this process. And so how disingenuous and what a lack of empathy that our emails show up in their inbox in their everyday and their every moment with this completely different emotion than what they are experiencing. So if you're just thinking about how do we build empathy from something as small as the subject line, it's tell them what's in the email, like Ashley said, and then match their emotion if you know that they're actually going through kind of a complicated time.
I loved the emphasis of simplicity and clarity throughout the book. Ashley, you were just speaking to that too in relation to this idea of empathy. You know, you guys in your book argue that the success of a call to action is often hinging more on the clarity of the message than the content itself. And so what are some things that our listeners can do to ensure more clarity within their email communications?
Keep it simple. This is hard for academia. It's really, really hard. And this is maybe one of the places we get the most pushback. Would you say so, Day?
Yeah, we definitely do. So one of the things that we say is use natural language, simple language. And if you actually measure this based on like a reading level, it's 7th to 9th grade reading level. This is not something we are making up. This is one of those very researched, very proven things we're borrowing from our web research friends. And when you say 7th to 9th grade reading level, everyone at an institution, like they just immediately, they say, well, wait, like our audiences should be able to speak at a 12th grade level, right? Or understand content that's even a higher reading level. And that is true. I like to say that is true when they are doing their assignments and writing their undergraduate thesis or reading the academic articles that they need to read in their literary review. But it is not true when they're getting an email about, you know, keeping their parking pass up to date. So in email, what we want is that clarity. Again, going back to not wasting their time. And it's super important because people need to be able to quickly glance at your email and get the meaning, get the point really fast without having to read every single word that you have put in there. So fewer words are better, natural spoken language is better, so that you can actually get that point across really fast.
I have screenshot so many times, variations of sentence structure where, it's not a bunch of long sentences, but it's like thinking about your sentences like music and having shorter sentences followed by longer ones. And you kind of think about the musicality behind what you're writing. So I suspect to help kind of hit some of the points that you just mentioned, right? There's some tips like that that you would recommend, in terms of newsletters or even, where you place calls to action within these emails. What are some of those tips?
We have many, but I think for the purposes of the podcast, there are a couple that we want you to know. One is that humans are predictable. We're predictable beings, that we do a lot of things subconsciously that we don't even know are happening. And in the inbox, it's where our eyes are going and where we're glancing and how we're filtering on, making these very split-second decisions on whether we're going to engage in an email or not. And so the book walks you through exactly what these predictable human patterns are so that you can hack it. And we're hoping that you're going to hack it for good and not use our powers that we're sharing with you for evil, only good. But yeah, Day was the one who brought the UX research into the book and is applying eye tracking studies. And we've got templates on our website that you can download for free to see exactly how these work in real life. But I'll let you explain any more
Yeah, Day, in the book, you mentioned things like the F pattern and the layer cake. Like, I was getting a little hungry while I was reading
hungry?
Mailed It. I was like, I want a cake now.
I actually have a great British baking show reference when I talk about the layer cake pattern in the book, because same, Mallory, same. So there's a ton of research out there about how people interact with content on a screen, and there's also been a lot of evolution in the design of content to guide the eyes to what we want them to see, right? Ashley's a designer, actually, but I'm not, and so I don't know how to do that. So the studies that I took basically were for kind of the most basic templates. So plain text on a simple background, or something like a newsletter that has a bunch of headings. How do people read it? And what we found with plain text on a simple background is that the eyes follow an F pattern. So if you can imagine an F in front of you, there's a top line, there's kind of a second horizontal line right below it, and then there's this kind of left-hand vertical line. And that's how people read your email today. That's when they first open it up, before they even know what's going on. Their eyes did that. 1 line, 2 lines, vertical scan. And so the hack is put the most important stuff right there. Put it right there. And we like to always ask, hey, so what do you usually write in your first line of your email? Is it the most important thing you want to say? Because that's the first thing and maybe one of the only things that email will say. And the answer is usually no, of course not. That line, we all waste it with something really nice and really kind and really generous. And so stop doing that. That's one of the first things you'll learn with the book. And then with something like a newsletter, what we found is really important is that the eyes will follow a layer cake reading pattern. So you can imagine, there's layers. You go from like the frosting to the frosting to the frosting. So it's like heading, heading, heading. And if you have links in your snippets, because those look different, the eyes will go there. So it's like heading, link, heading, link, heading, link. And that showcases the importance of both having really descriptive headings. So gone are the important updates and campus news and upcoming events type of headings, like actually write the thing. And the links, the learn more, learn more, learn more, learn more. Stop right now. Make sure your links actually say what's going to happen, what the action is, what the benefit is. And the question I like to kind of give people to ask themselves is, if they only saw the link, would they know what you want them to do or what's going to happen when they click it? That's the new metric of success for those.
One of the things you write in the book is that 41% of emails only get 2 to 8 seconds of your reader's attention. So there's this like very short window of time. And I think I've actually been in the room when you have both done conference presentations and given us like these 6-second tests and what you remember. How often are you actually doing that with your own emails?
Busted.
Every time I open an email, truly though, like I will still have previews from my team come my way. And that's what where's the button? Is it too low? Let's move it up. What's that first line? Like that first line was a throwaway. You actually put it the most important line last. Let's move that up to the front sentence. So it is a great test to be able to do yourself. Don't read your whole email. Just give yourself 2 seconds and see what you take away from it.
And I bet it's interesting to do that if you're looking at that email on a desktop and then you do that same test again on your mobile device and something tells me your different things are hitting the eyes.
Yeah, like remarkably, that same F pattern holds so true. There's a little bit more scrolling, but it is that first line. It's that, it was so good to see you yesterday, Mallory. No, that's not what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you that I need to borrow your microphone for the podcast recording. So I'm the type of person that has to get that out of my system or I do not know what else to write in the email. Like I have to write it down. And so I will. And then I will put my cursor above that line and I will press enter a bunch and I will shove it all the way down to the bottom of the email so that I'm still being nice. I've gotten it out of my system, but I'm not wasting that precious space.
Awesome tip. So I think we're all convinced, right? Email's not dead. We need to build trust and empathy and authenticity matters. So now we've just spent a lot of time, thinking about our email cadence and communications. And we have done all of these things. And now it's time to actually measure if all of this effort, moved the needle. What, in your opinion, are some of the most important engagement metrics to track? And how can our seasoned listeners continue to refine their strategies with the data that they are getting from their email metrics?
Yeah, so there's a lot of hate for our open rates right now. And it is true that open rate has changed. So depending on the client, some clients are suppressing opens if the user sets that setting, and others are just opening to do a quick kind of spam filter read. So they're all over the place, right? So they don't mean what they used to mean, but that doesn't mean that we don't look at them anymore. One of the things that open rates really signal is how well your emails are delivering. So it's really important for you to see that things are not dropping significantly. Ashley, I think I've heard you say something like 20% of emails are automatically opened now by a lot of web clients or, like your common Gmail, Apple. And so if you are at around 20%, then you're thinking, oh, this is pretty good. Actually, you really need to start worrying.
Mm-hmm. Those are just robots.
It's just the robots. So, don't discard them completely. They don't exactly mean 100%. These are the people that opened your emails, but it does for quite a lot of them. So make sure you dig a little bit deeper. Make sure you're really understanding your own trends on opens and use that information to make sure that your lists are clean and that people are actually engaging. What else would you look at, Ash?
I'm the clickbait person. I love a strong click rate. And, I talk in my presentations and in the book about using clickbait for good. Like, I want people to be in the habit of when they see an email from Ashley Budd or from Cornell University, that this is an email that they are going to open and click on something in there. I want that subconscious habit. And so I am looking for people to engage with my emails. And that is typically clicking on something that is in there that I have told them is a good thing to click on. Or it could be that I'm looking for replies to the email. So those kinds of things, like, what do I want people to do? And then sometimes I think what we forget about as communicators is that our responsibility is to not just send the message, right? Like, not just push send on the email, but it is to have our message received by the person on the other end. And that message that's getting received might just be that we need them to know that Giving Day is March 13th. And it's a save the date message, and we just need them to know that. And if we put it in the subject line and then they never open that email, they still got it, right? Like, the message was received. I needed them to know that the date is March 13th. It was sitting right there in their subject. They deleted it immediately, but they got my message. So, again, it depends, but there's lots of ways to use these email metrics to understand how the relationship with your reader is going and growing. And hopefully you're using the tactics to get them to do even more for you.
So let's close this out with some hot takes. Does anyone want to just jump in with your hottest take on email marketing?
Yeah, so this is my favorite hot take. I've been saying this for so many years. If people are not reading your emails, it is entirely your fault.
Ooh, ouch, Day.
I know. It's just we are so quick to shift the blame to our readers, but if they're not reading it, it's your fault.
Ashley, any hot takes out the gate?
I have yet to find an AI tool that can write a good email. None.
Wow.
I'm with you.
They don't know the F pattern. They're going to tell you the first line should be, I hope this email finds you well. Where's the good AI tool for email? Send it our way.
We need to make one.
Or we'll make it. I know. The request is in, but AI can help you simplify your language. It can help you write a first draft. And then because you've read the book, you're going to have to fix a few things.
Move stuff around.
Yeah.
We like to think of AI as our intern that we can assign to do the ideation and the research and to come up with a first draft. But just like I would never hit send on that first draft, right? I always like to take the content that ChatGPT or Claude or, Bard, whatever the GPT du jour is. And you really have to massage it and work with it so that it is send ready. So I agree with that hot take, Ashley. And Day, your hot take kind of cuts me deep. Ouch. I'm still feeling that pain. So as we wrap this up, what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners or your book readers will implement after they get their hands on a copy of Mailed It?
Oh, I hope people have more fun with email. We have this like really soft spot in our heart. We are like, there are hearts all over this book. We use a little love letter emoji everywhere. Like, we long for the days of You Got Mail, where there was a whole Meg Ryan moment. It was Meg Ryan, right? Like there was a whole like rom-com about email, and you can make it fun, and you don't need to be stuffy, and you don't need to be institutional. This is a relationship building tool. So how do you want to build relationships with people? Hopefully with lots of little email love letters.
Yeah, I have 2 takeaways. What I really, really, really want people to take away from this, which is, I think, the most important foundational premise in the book, is you have to respect your readers. Email is for them, and that's how we're going to get to our next Meg Ryan moment. It isn't about us just putting stuff out there. And then my more practical takeaway that I hope folks implement, and it's the simplest thing you can do even if you do nothing else, is really simplify your language. And in general, I advocate for that anywhere, always. But using that kind of natural spoken language, even if you don't do anything else, is going to go such a long way.
Well, some of my takeaways from this conversation, I've got 3. Be clear, not cute. Don't waste the first line, and use clickbait for good. And once you have your copy of Mailed It, turn to page 106, because there is an incredible table for call to actions with the left side. These are the bad ones, right? Generic, learn more, click here, that type of stuff. And then Ashley and Day have done the hard work of rewriting those for you, and they provide you with the good and better examples. And I just felt like, I screenshot that and I sent that to Erin Fields, our marketing manager. And I was like, this, change all our CTAs today, please. Thank you. So that was immediately usable for me and for Enrollify. Oh, and PS, on page 88, I spied Enrollify in your screenshots and then instantly zoomed in to say, wait, did we have our subject lines clear, not cute? Like, uh-oh.
That's so funny. Everybody that emails us after they go through one of our trainings, they're so nervous about the email. They're like, I'm so scared to email you. But I'll share this. I'm also scared to email people now. This is what happens when you write a book about it. Like I'm now overthinking everything. Like, am I doing the things? Am I practicing what I preach? Feel free to email us in any way. We'll take it as a love letter.
Well, ladies, congratulations on this huge accomplishment. Mailed It is available for purchase today. The link is in the show notes. We have already given away a number of these books around our Enrollify birthday month, and I bet you we'll be giving some more away in the future. But don't wait for that. Go get your hands on a copy. It's really incredible. It will change how you think about email marketing and how you approach it with more thoughtfulness. Any parting thoughts before we wrap up?
Happy emailing.
Happy emailing. Thank you for supporting us.
Amazing. All right. Well, with that, y'all, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.